Well, good morning, everyone from Southern Oregon. My name is Doug, and I'll be the host today. And welcome to another Sunday Talk with Guy Finley. And we're glad you joined us here. If this is your first time, our format for this class is Guy will give about a 1 hour talk. We'll take a 5 minute break and then come back for questions and answers. So do join us for all that you possibly can. And participate. If you have any questions or any impressions or something you want to share, that's the time after Guy's talk to be able to do that. So if you have any issues technically, you can go to the chat boxes of whatever platform you're on, and we'll try to help you as best we can. So again, welcome. And by the way, if you can't stay for the whole time, these talks are recorded. And you can go to guyfinley.org/channel and reach the talk at any time. So again, thanks for joining us. I think we'll get started. Before we bring Guy on, I would want to say that there's been some changes to the writings that go along with class and that we're posting a link. Kate will be posting a link in the updated writings in the chat area, I think right now. So take a look at your chat areas, and those will be the new writings that go along with today's class. So. Okay, hi Guy. I think you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
All right. I'm going to read the topic for today, and it is the key to freeing yourself from any fearful or otherwise painful moment. All right, Guy, I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the students in Oregon, and I'm glad that you're all here. The talk title has the word, the key. You know, the problem with the key is that it doesn't do any good if it stays in your pocket, let alone if you don't put it in the door, and still again, if you don't turn it and actually open what you have asked to see. So I want to make it abundantly clear that we have a very simple topic for today, and yet we're going to look at it from a number of different angles. And my only admonition at the start here is that it's critical that you do not believe however that belief is formulated in you emotionally, intellectually, physically. Do not believe anything I say, but you must for yourself prove it. If you don't prove it, it's worthless, actually worse than worthless. This idea is not mine. It's been taught for literally centuries. There's an old story I've recounted, but it applies today, where the disciples of Moses were listening to his teachings. And they said to him, "Yes, Master Moses, we hear and we will do what you say to do." And he admonished them, "No, not hear and do, but you must do and then you will hear." What did that mean? It means that if you don't put into practice what it is that you're taught, you'll never understand the lesson in the teachings, let alone what it's intended to help you realize is true about yourself. And that's very much true for today's material. As simple as it is, there will be some passages, and I will go over them, that I know, even as I spent hours working on them, you will stumble over, and it's not without reason, and I'll explain that. So let's take a nice deep breath wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and see if we can't get going. And we're going to set the stage for our talk today with a single question. It'll run underneath everything that we do. And I'll ask the people in the room, and if you want to pipe in and throw up a comment on the board, that's fine. It's not a trick question. What is the one thing that never comes to your mind when you find yourself in a negative state over something unwanted, something happened you wish didn't, feeling anxious, frustrated, whatever that discouragement, that negative state may be? What's the one thing that never comes to your mind in the throes of that kind of trouble?
That there's a choice not to be it.
that there's a choice not to be it. Well, that's not too bad if you actually are aware of that fact in the moment. Most of us aren't because we're captured immediately by our resistance to that condition. But that's not even the answer. Anybody else want to venture a guess? What never comes to your mind when you're negative?
It's not me.
No, that definitely doesn't come to your mind. Someone said, it's not me. The one action that never enters your mind in those moments is that it never occurs to you in those moments that you could actually be interested in what you have no interest in. What's the last thing you have interest in when you're angry, upset, or running from something? The last thing I have interest in is in that state. I don't want to know. I want to know about how do I get away from it. I want to know who to blame for it. My interest has nothing to do with the actual condition I'm in. My interest is in what I blame for the condition and what I have to do to reconcile it. Do you understand that? Yes. So I never have interest in the moment in what I have no interest in. It's just a default. I'm not interested. In fact, it really irritates me when you tell me I should be interested in what I have no interest in, because I have no interest in it. Do you understand? I'm not interested in my suffering. I'm interested in what to do about it. And that's all I care about. I had a horrible night. I had a horrible morning. You don't know the troubles that have come my way. I want to know what to do about it, not whether or not I should spend my time being interested in this thing that summarily, by my rejection of it, yes or no, I summarily reject my negative states, yes or no. So what we're going to look at is what would happen, actually happen, if I could be interested in what I have no interest in. I look everywhere other than at the actual condition because my attention is drawn to what it blames, judges, or otherwise finds at fault for what has stolen my freedom, my happiness. Everybody tracking with me? So the moment we feel a disturbance, and we do, how many of you are disturbed? I would say got disturbed. I say, how many of you are non-stop disturbed? Basically, that's the truth. We don't know about it, but it's basically true. I've said this before. Great sweatshirt. We disturbed, just disturbed. That's all. What's the one thing that happens when a disturbance comes up? And I'll throw it out to you guys. What happens when we're disturbed?
We resist it.
Someone said we resist it, but that's. Look, you need to understand that you have to get past the summary definitions you have for these problems. One thing that happens immediately when I'm disturbed is my mind tries to figure out how to escape that moment. That's what my mind's working on. Where do I have to go? Who do I have to talk to? What's necessary for me not to be experiencing what has come unbeckoned to bring this bitterness or this anger? Yes or no? Where do I go to escape it? And not accidentally, your mind has already got all of the things on like a pin board, with all the sticky notes. And that's a really good word for thoughts. Sticky notes. And it never dawns on you that whatever your mind suggests to you to escape the condition, it is drawing from the content of itself that has never escaped its own conditioning. So that I'm literally looking into a mirror in which I think I see freedom, but what I'm really seeing is something that knows nothing about freedom, but's telling me, here's the promise, just follow it through, and you'll make it to that place where you're not disturbed anymore. So one thing we always do is look for some way to escape what is disturbing us. Or, and this is for those of you who think you're other than that, and everybody does, I'm not the person who tries to escape problems. I'm going to get in there by God and I'm going to fix it. This is type A people. We're all a little bit mixed up, aren't we? Little A, little Z. Yeah, I don't surrender to stuff. I'm in there and I am, one way or the other, I'm going to change this. I'm going to control this moment. Watch me. Now, you don't usually say that to people, but inwardly, you've got your chin forward. There's a chip on your shoulder called this consciousness trying to escape the content of itself. And I'm going to get in there and I am going to control the moment to do what? What am I going to do in controlling the moment that I believe is controlling the moment? Please understand me. We'll get into this. The moment that you're trying to control has come and gone. What you're actually trying to control is your relationship to the reaction you've had to what your consciousness told you was the makeup of that moment. That's what you're really struggling with, is your own reaction. So what am I going to do? I'm going to change or control this moment, and I'm going to make it do what? I'm going to make that moment, like a lion, jump through the hoop of what I believe it needs to do in order to confirm or conform to what I believe it must be, so I'm no longer disturbed. So that's a pretty binary set of reactions, isn't it? We know it as fight or flight. Flight is run, fight is try to change or control so that I overcome what has overcome me. Now, I just want to throw this out. Can you overcome your own reaction? Or is your attempt to overcome and control your reaction actually something that has overcome you and that's controlling you, because there's no one there separate from the reaction? Can you see that at all? I'm trying to control a reaction, not the condition I blame it on. And the more I try to control a reaction, what happens to me inside? The more I believe that my life depends on getting rid of that condition the reaction blames. Please? So, what if, and there's a couple what ifs in this talk, what if the idea of becoming interested in the nature of the reaction itself was something that came to me? I mean, being interested in the nature of the reaction? I'm not interested in the nature of the reaction. I'm interested in how to stop you from bringing it up in me. I'm not interested in the nature of the reaction where I'm suddenly anxious. I'm interested in controlling the condition that's producing that action. The last thing I'm interested in, and this is critical, the way that I am now, the last thing I'm interested in is my own reaction. Because I'm too busy running to or from what that reaction has said needs to be done. Besides which, and whether you know it or not, we struggle immensely over the years to try to control our reactions. And at some point, you just realize, I can't control this reaction, so I better get busy and control the circumstances that create it. Please, I'm asking you to see it. I get with my family, I'm with my brother, my mother, my sister, whatever I'm with, and that reaction's coming. I talked about it yesterday. And so I believe that if I can get set, do you ever try to get set for something that's coming? Do you know what I'm talking about? Why am I trying to get set from something that my reaction is telling me is coming? Other than I obviously fear what may be coming, so getting set is to protect myself from what I think is the condition. Am I protecting myself from the condition, or am I protecting myself from a reaction I don't know I'm having? And can I protect myself from my own reaction? Or is that a reaction to a fear I don't see? I'm telling you, if you just see this, it's evident. If you'll just see it, you'll recognize that something's going on. So if in fact the reaction is a painful one, big deal here, how many of you are interested in a painful reaction? I mean, that's like a stupid question, isn't it? I'm not interested in a painful reaction. I'm interested in pizza at the moment. I'm interested in parting ways with the person that's producing it in me. I want nothing to do with the pain. End of story. Every thought that I have generated from resisting how I feel, what you said, what may happen, every thought without knowing it is a way in which that nature is hiding from itself the pain that it's in because of what it is reacting to. If I want to actually understand this pain, how many of you will agree with me? You may not want to be fully fledged in this agreement, but there's a lot of pain and I do a lot of thinking about it. Yes or no? So for you, sir, to tell me that I should be interested in my pain is insane. Because you see, in truth, I'm very interested in it. No, you're not. You're interested in what your pain is telling you to do about your pain. And that's the temptation and the desire produced by the consciousness that produced the conflict to somehow or other, if I could just be interested enough, just get involved enough in making that desire come to pass, I would get past this pain that has fallen into my path uninvited. It was already there. When you have a pain, what you will discover is that it was there before you got to the moment that revealed it. That's what you will discover if you persist with your work. A big part of this talk. Okay. This is one of the most important discoveries that a human being can make. And it's a hard to come discovery, isn't it? Because about the last thing I want to do is pay attention to what I fear in myself. I'm just not interested in it. But if I do, something extraordinary takes place. In a single shift, what's the shift? I'm interested in the nature of the reaction, not in solving what the reaction tells me has caused the suffering. I'm interested in the pain, not how to escape it, not what to do about it, not anything other than what is it that this pain is all about and what's my relationship with it. Because in a single shift like that, can you see that's an immense shift in interest? Do you think to yourself, I'm interested in being free, or are you automatically seeking freedom when pain becomes too much for you? So there's no conscious interest at all in the solutions we have to our suffering. That nature that caused the suffering says, here's what you need to be interested in. And to ensure that you're interested in it, but wait, not only will you get the first deal I give you, but when you buy that deal, you will get 2 of the next thing connected to it. This is how commercials work, in case you don't know it. A commercial is just a reflection, a projection of your consciousness. Honest to God, it is. It's exactly how it works, if you can see it. Something extraordinary takes place if I can do it. You ready? Now, take a nice deep breath. This is the part that I said. Okay. I'm going to bring up the first part of the key lesson for today. I'm going to read it. Don't get panicky. And then I'll explain it with the second part. Let me know when it's up and good. I can't speak to you of life without speaking to you of death. Not the death we fear, but the fear we have of it. For to live in fear is to die in slow motion. To live in fear is to die in slow motion. Why is to live in fear to die in slow motion? I'll explain. Because when I live in fear, the only thing I'm interested in is what the mind that created the fear points to as the resolution to the pain of that fear. So I'm in thought. I'm in a world of shadows. I'm in the past, and there is no life in thought. There is no life in the past. But there is the sensation of life as the past talks to me and says, here's where to move. Here's what you must move if you want to be free of this fear. You need to understand, as we will, to live in that kind of fear is to die in slow motion. Now, the nature of this fear we're talking about, what is it that overpowers us? Can you agree that you are See, this is the problem. When I'm thinking about a fear and how to get rid of it and what to do with what you said and all the rest of that, I don't think I'm overpowered by a fear. I think I'm proactive towards that reaction, yes or no? But the fact is, I can't do anything other than that. That's all I know to do. So if I look at it honestly, I got anxious, I got angry, I started regretting, I felt resentment. What's going on? Well, I have hitched my wagon to the wagon trail of woe. I'm linked up with a fear. I don't know it, and it has power over me to do as I've been describing, make me run, seek, solve, so forth and so on. So now, what is the true nature of this fear? I'm ready when you are, Eric. Part 2 of the first key lesson. Our principal fear is not what any moment may or may not bring. Rather, what we really fear in any unwanted moment is our reaction to it. What we really fear in any unwanted moment is our painful reaction to it. Why do I, can you get that far with me? Why would I fear my own reaction? I'm slowly, hopefully helping awaken in you questions that by and large don't appear by themselves in you. I don't ever think to myself, why am I having this painful reaction? Because my reaction already told me why. Doesn't it? I don't need to consider things like that. I already have the answer to what's causing this suffering. And I always have the answer, even if the answer is to wish that I wasn't having it. Because that's still an answer, isn't it? It's still a way in which I deal with something I've never successfully dealt with. And I've never successfully dealt with it. Why? Because I know nothing about it. All I know is what that reaction tells me about the moment, or the way it judges me for being ignorant, but I still know nothing about the machinery of that reaction and why it is bringing up what it does and points to what it does as the path to freeing myself from the pain of it. Please, are we still tracking? Transition. I ask you, how much of your life is governed by the fear of loss, failure, some pain, discomfort? Let's take something as simple as discomfort. What happens when you're uncomfortable? Regardless what causes it, what happens? What happens when you're uncomfortable? Show me the way out. God, I can't. Yes or no? Please see me. I can't stand feeling like this. I can't stand feeling like this. I can't go one more day like this. This is the road where people get to a certain point and it leads to suicidal thoughts. And they never see that the consciousness leading them to that thought is in fact already dead and wants them to join it. But it wants the sensation of life. My life is governed, without me knowing it, by every reaction that comes up to any moment that challenges whatever I believe I need to confirm myself as I imagine myself. End of story. And if we see that's true, can you see to a small extent the truth of that's all I'm asking? Can you? The true question has to change. Our question now is, how do I live with this pain? If I'm trying to get through a pain, I'm agreeing that the pain knows the problem and the purpose. And so I'm thinking, how do I get through this pain? So the question that I'm asking is pain's question, because all it wants is the continuity of itself. Do you see it? Yes. So the thing turns out to where I have to ask myself, instead of, how do I learn to live with this fearful nature? Please, God, how do I die to it? Because I've been living with it for 5,000 years. Whether you know it or not, humanity has lived with this nature since almost the beginning of time. Because the fearful nature is not your nature. God did not put the spirit of fear in a human being. But an unconscious nature creates the fear it needs so that it can be successful in transcending its own creation and provide that endless sense of self through the misery of that movement. Am I going too fast? So as unthinkable as it may be, I have to become interested in seeing directly not what my mind says, analyze and clear up the confusion about how this and that happened. I need to see, for instance, what's the actual nature of this confusion that's driving me mad, that I get into bed with and my mind won't stop gyrating, trying to get to a place where it can go to sleep. So that all it's doing is trying to get to a solution to a suffering, that the more it tries to get to the solution, the more ingrained the suffering becomes in our conditioned relationship to it. Do you see it? So I have to become interested directly in the machinery, in the many disguises that unconscious nature creates. Because, try to understand this, when Christ used the word legion, he was describing a multitude of eyes, like a multitude of identities. and the multitude of identities that Christ was describing with the word legion is something that we don't see. Each and every one of those eyes that are part of that legion are a momentary eruption of a certain level of being that produces the corresponding eye with its familiarity and its conditioning that validates the condition that now is blamed for the pain that one is in. So there are as many eyes as there are conditions. It seems like there are as many eyes as there are conditions. In truth, there is only one eye behind all fear. That's why the whole purpose of one's work is to start understanding that if I remain in, look, when you're interested in something, can you see that something, before you're interested in how do I do this, how do I fix this, something has said, hey guy, you should be interested in this. I didn't create the interest. The reaction, listen, the reaction seems to bring up what I'm interested in. Please. I'm not sitting there thinking, I'm going to be interested in this problem. No, the problem comes up. The I appears as its cohort. And as that I appears, it appears as the justification and the validation of why I feel like a victim. So there are as many of those conditions, and we go through them on any given day. It seems like I have all of these different experiences of myself. No, there's only one experience of yourself, and that experience is this constant identification with whatever that reaction points to as being the problem in your reality at that moment. So I want to tell you a story. Slow it down a little bit. Somewhere in a distant, small kingdom, there is a terrible circumstance going on. There's a fire-breathing dragon. It's amorphous. You never see it coming. It can look like a fly and suddenly blow up to the size of a mountain, or it can look like a mountain and you go to slay it and it turns into the size of a fly. No one can quite get their hands on it. That's the point. So I have to go through this story quickly. The good king says, I need a night. Sleep. Because I can't sleep with this dragon. It's killing me. And so all these knights show up, and nobody is able to slay the dragon, because what happens? Somehow or other, the relationship, which we don't know yet, because I haven't told you, the relationship is the dragon has this strange power. And the dragon's power is first to bring up inside of the challenger an immense fear, a vibratory, sensational fear. And as it brings up the fear in the knight, because it's emanating the dark magic of the wizard that produced it, as it does that, at the same point, in that the might of that knight, in the mind of that knight, it shows just somewhere over the ridge, just a little bit down the way, the solution to the pain of that fear. And so as it appears in the knight goes running towards the solution to the suffering, and the knight never sees as all of the knights end, and not in a good way. They run themselves into the dirt. They just die in an endless pursuit to bring an end to what they cannot bring an end to. I'm describing something that you need to see. So in all of our stories, there's always a hero. What person here wants to be the hero? Nobody wants to be the hero? No, you're the most boring group I've ever spoken to. Mike, you're the hero. Yeah, I know. I kind of regret the decision myself. So here comes the good night Mike. Good night, Mike. Here comes the good night Mike. And he says, I can handle this. Because Mike is full of himself. As are all would-be knights who don't understand their authority is not in their sword or their shield. And Goodnight Mike goes after the dragon, and for the next, we'll just pick a figure, one that's meaningful, 7 years, could be 77. Goodnight Mike is run in a circle, just like I've described. Over and over again, the fear comes up. Part of the fear is to produce the illusion of what will rescue, and Mike runs after it just like everybody else did. But one day, as Mike is running, he realizes, I'm still running. That simple. I'm still afraid. I said I was going to slay this thing. I'm not slaying it. It's sending me on one mission after another that never comes to an end, because no sooner do I make this full circle that I didn't know I was making, I'm right back with the same dragon again. Don't you think your dragons all have different faces, please? So Mike has a realization. Key, he sees something that ordinarily would never be seen, because when I am running from the scene of my fear, all I see is what I believe will free me from it. So that this idea of seeing the nature of my circumstance does not enter into my trying to escape it. He sees something about it. And he comes to a stop. And ordinarily I'd go through this whole iteration. And he comes to a stop, and here comes the dragon. And of course, as the dragon gets closer, and evidence proves this in your own life, as what you fear might happen or not happen, what you think you have to protect or what you might lose, as it gets closer, doesn't it kind of get worse inside of you? Like the night before you go to Christmas dinner with your family? Or prior to that business meeting that you're not prepared for? Or the simple conversation where you have to ask somebody to help you and you're too afraid, you don't want them to think that you need help. You fill in the blank. Here it comes. And as it gets closer, what happens inside? Fear mounts. And the more the fear mounts, what appears with the mounting fear? The stronger the wish to escape it into what? Anything other than being here with that fear. Yes, please. So he's standing there. The closer it gets, the worse it gets. And I have a special writing that will help you understand this. But he knows. Now listen, but he doesn't know what he knows. He doesn't know what he knows. He can't see what he has seen. He's just present to the fact that his solution and what he's interested in when this dragon appears has never produced the end of that ragged race that he runs through. Please? So here it is. It's right in front of him. Huge. And Mike, trembling. The good knight is trembling, as the real aspirant must in those moments. And he says something like, I have to say something to you. Dragon, what? No knight talks to me other than say, please give me something else or don't hurt me. What do you have to say, stupid knight Mike? Because you're already being judged. Mike says, this relationship of ours, I can see, has really been solely based on my interest in what you promise will be mine if I simply run to do what you say. I can see, I don't see it really clearly yet, but by God, I can see some of that. And so what I have to say to you is it's getting a little old. So if you don't mind, I have a question for you. And what does the evil dragon do anytime the good knight stands his ground and asks a question? You idiot. You've always been a coward. You've always been angry. You've always been afraid. And it begins with the fear of the judgment of yourself. Because that's one of the big things that we fear, is this thing starts to judge me. I don't want to be judged, so I'd rather do what the judge says than to go through that condition. Please, do you see it with me? What can you possibly say to me? Mike says, well, he's very contrite. There's no arrogance in this. I'm becoming more and more interested in you. And what is it you want from me? Because wherever I am, there you are. Why are you always there where I am? And why are you always telling me and giving me things to do? So I'd like to know something about your story. Please share it with me. And what do you think that big, old, ugly, fire-breathing dragon did when Mike said, I'm interested in you and I want to know about your story? What do you think that big old dragon did? It blew up to smithereens. It didn't disappear into a little crack. It just literally blew up. Why did it blow up? Because Mike, having interest in it, changed the relationship that Mike had with it. And that dragon can only exist with the existing relationship between a mind that creates what it fears and then tells it itself to run from it. Please, do you follow me? So if you can see that much, it leads us to a radical reversal. Christ's metanoia, turnaround. in our relationship with life as it's known. This is important. So it's not new beliefs that I need. It's not my old beliefs that I need. I certainly don't need more information. Where do I get my information from? Remember that talk I gave a long time? Look who's talking to you. Where do I get my information from? I get it from something that's like Lurch right there handing me all the lessons I need. And I always go, thank you, because for a moment I'm identified with what I need to escape instead of realizing that what I'm trying to escape is actually talking to me. Because it is. You following me? So, and it's not this. I need a little more effort. Because that's one of the things that eventually comes up. So it'll call you, you lazy person. You know what? What you need is to sit in a chair and do Tai Chi. Or whatever it is that's popular now. All the popular things are because the old things have lost their glamour. Please see this, which means I need to create a new interest in the world so that the world will feed what I need in order to remain in place. And we're not just talking about financial or corporate conditions. We're talking about a nature that eventually plays itself out. Eventually, you actually lose interest in serving it, but don't know that you lose interest in serving it because it gives you something new to serve, and that's what you have interest in it. Please? So at some level, I start to realize I don't need another plan. I don't need another thought. What I need to do, hold your breath, I need to lose interest in my plans. I need to lose interest in the hope I have that I can get out of this circle called my life. Because it's the hope I have in getting out of the circle of life that's being given to me from the center of that circle that is the creator of the circle I can't escape. Please, do you see this? So what's gradually happening in this story or in your life as the case may be? What's gradually happening? How about this, as simple as it can be said? I'm sitting at home and I start to get angry. My mind brings up an enemy. I start to worry about what may happen tomorrow. And I've run that race 100 million times. Nobody can tell me I haven't. And nobody can convince me that it leads somewhere, because at this point, what's happening to me? I've actually lost interest in going through that. And when I say lost interest in going through that, I'm saying I've lost interest in being that. I've lost interest in being that. You know, when a kid goes to an amusement park, I don't know if you went to enough times. I was compulsive obsessive for sure. You know, if I loved a ride, by God, I'd be on that ride every day for like 8 years. And then finally at 32, I left the amusement park. Now, if I find something in the ride I like, I'm on it. You like the ride of tormenting thoughts and feelings. You like the ride of worrying about tomorrow. Fill in the blanks. But at a certain point, by grace that we can't explain, one day what happens? Not again. Not because I'm wise, because I've figured it out. I've just lost interest in it. Now, unbeknownst to you, it's impossible because of the nature of this consciousness that you can't lose interest in one thing that hasn't been born of you in you because of an interest in something else. This is the invisible side of awakening. I can't lose interest unless something in me has begun becoming interested in maybe, why have I lost interest? What is this going to mean if I've lost interest? All of the thoughts and feelings that accompany those moments. And so we have to see something very important here. Can you see, like a kid, the loss of an old interest? I don't want to go to the amusement park, and so I'm not going there, and I'm at home, and I hear somebody playing a cello. A cello? No. I see somebody perform in a way, and I'm gobsmacked. God, that's interesting to me. What is it about that person that can be like that, can do that? How did that person come to that wisdom? I'm interested now in that wisdom because it's helping me see something about how I've been ignorant of myself. Do you understand? So the old interest wanes, a new interest has produced it. And this is key. We must recognize the following. I do not create any initial interest. Let's say on the low side of things, I'm interested in being free of this pain. Well, why am I interested in being free of this pain? Because I was interested in what I needed to escape it that promised me if I just got this, did that, had the others all worked out, I wouldn't have this pain. So my interest in what? In what a desire that I didn't create, but that my life brought up inside of me because it was unfulfilling. I was incomplete. And so the revelation of this incomplete nature produces an interest in what I need to fix it. Do you understand that? So did I create that interest? Or was it part of the revelation of the whole of a moment? Nor do I create the interests that appear within me. For instance, why was I, as a young man, drawn to music? Why was I drawn to the bonsai tree? Why is a person drawn to science? Why is anyone drawn to nature the way we are, if we are drawn to nature? Do you understand the question? Why am I drawn to these questions I'm asking? What's that about? Because why? Interest in these things doesn't exist until the possibility of a relationship with them introduces itself. Interest in such things, interest in music, art, science, dance, that interest doesn't exist until suddenly something in me poses the possibility of being in relationship with what it is that I feel when I'm looking at that. I don't want to go too fast. So the interest is an introduction to some character or quality in myself that I don't know is there, but that interest draws me to. So I'm drawn to what I'm interested in, whatever the relationship is. I've said this before. You get drawn to another human being for what purpose? Well, you say, well, it was sexual, it was emotional, it was intellectual, or God willing, it was all three of these. And suddenly, I don't know why I'm drawn. You're drawn because there is something in you drawn to that character or quality that has something in common with it, so that in the marriage of that relationship, in the union of those entities, something that I don't know about myself, I can start to experience. I discover myself through my relationships, and it is interest that draws me into them. Please? The soul is drawn. The lower consciousness is drawn to know and realize the nature or the character within us that draws us to that. Only we just don't realize those parts of ourselves. How many of you know from your spiritual work, there was times when you just could no bloody way you could understand certain things. But I was still drawn to it. What's that about? Not was I drawn to it, but there were things that were asked of me where I had to choose. Well, do I stay interested about what I don't understand but I want? Or do I drawn to what I want that I hope will free me from this sense of being incomplete? And you start to see this is pretty extraordinary. This is what it means to be called. When a human being is called, it's because they are given an awakening to an interest that they don't create for themselves. When you're called to what you believe is a spiritual life, what you're called to is the identity connected to the desire that when I become spiritual, I'll be free. That's the same circle of self. But when I'm actually called to something, I don't have a bloody idea what I'm called to. I just know I'm drawn to it. And what I'm drawn to always asks that something has to be given up if it wants me to have more involvement and to realize what it is, not what I'm drawn to, but what is the nature that is attracted to itself that I'm experiencing as my life. Because that's the case. Let's bring up the second key lesson, please. Help explain this. Read along with me. Let me know. Wide awake. Key lesson number 2. What we call being interested in is something that we are called to realize as already being within us. It is a bridge between what is attracted and what it is attracted to. It is a bridge between what is attracted and what it is attracted to. It is through this interest that we are awakened and then drawn to explore and realize this infinite relationship we have with unrealized qualities that are inseparable from the relationships that reveal them. I hope on the high side of things you've had moments where you just cannot believe that something that deep, true, kind, patient, peaceable, that something was in you that you had no idea was there, and then because of a certain little gift where in a moment your mind is called to attend to something, in the moment of that interest, suddenly you are involved in a completely different level of your own being, yes or no? And we love that, don't we? Well, what if the same interest, what if the same being drawn is presented to us as a process of discovering the same exact possibility holds true when it comes to our pain or our suffering? Because it can't be true here and not be true there. That means that the thing that I long for the most, that I've unfortunately become identified with because it's been machinated into a form that I'm identified with, anything that threatens what I'm identified with is seen as a threat to me. But what we're looking at here is that who you are, your true nature, can't be threatened. Because there's no moment, no revelation that is an invitation drawing you into, can I be interested in this loneliness? Can I be interested, really interested in this terrible, abject sense of being lost and alone? Can I be interested in that instead of a captive of being identified with the resistance to it? Do you see? Can you see what a shift that might produce? I'm not saying you're capable yet. You will. You'll gain this. You'll understand it. But we can't awaken ourselves to this idea any more than a rose can bloom without sunlight. Can a rose bloom without sunlight? Nor can you and I bloom without something showing us that in the dark of us there's something that we believe is the light. Because it says, go here, do there, and it shines quite clearly. It says, here's where escape is, here's how to change this person, and I don't know that I'm the blind following the blind and following in a pit until I get there. And then Goodnight Mike goes through the same thing again and again and again. Yes or no? But somehow, to whatever extent it's true, a man or a woman is blessed. Listen to this, what sounds like a complete contradiction. I'm blessed to see my fears. Not blessed to solve them. I'm blessed to see the extraordinary hypocrisy in this nature. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to see this unbelievable set of contradictions, this endless comparison of mind that won't stop. I'm actually blessed to see that. But I don't know the blessing because that nature always points to how to escape that condition in myself. And so instead of blessed, I am in one respect kind of cursed, end quote, to live within a world where a circle of this unconscious content keeps me involved in chasing what it promises will free me from itself. Please, do you see? So if a rose can't bloom without sunlight, and we are blessed by a certain kind of light, the light of Christ, to see that I just did the evil I don't want to. I didn't do the good I would. I know what the good is. And I hate myself for not doing the good. Yes or no? You do not hate yourself for not doing good. The nature that wouldn't do the good and couldn't wants you to hate yourself and feel that, so it proves to you that you are other than the nature that acted for you. You are inseparable from the nature that acts for you, but you can separate yourself from it by becoming interested in it. Please? So the very light that we see, this darkness, does what? If I see this and suddenly I see this pain, I don't see pain, I see the problem. Please, do you see that? So if I actually start to see, well, there's this pain. I've been running from it. Here, I see it. That means that there must be another order of intelligence. There has to be a completely different order of awareness, because all I'm aware of usually is what that pain is pointing to. Now I've lost interest. Again, quick story, slowing it down again. Here's a small town, another small town. Good night, Mike hasn't visited yet. And there's a young woman that lives in it. And if I need to say this, a middle-aged woman, an old woman, doesn't matter what age you are. Spirit has no age. Wisdom cannot be calculated in distance. A young woman, for the longest time, she was like a mayoral candidate. She was this, that, and the other. Everything that we ascribe to ourselves is becoming prominent and important enough, relevant to our condition, our society. But no matter what she did, no matter what the accolades were, she couldn't quite settle into what were the ordinary routines of a life founded in such things. There's always something kind of pushing her. And the town itself during this, it was peaceful, everything was pretty predictable. But she had a restlessness she didn't know what to do with. So again and again, in that restlessness, not knowing why, only knowing what she could not continue doing, she used to go for these long hikes in these mountains that surrounded this valley. And one day, as she was up near the top of one of these mountains, something happened she couldn't explain. I'll use the words, the low-hanging clouds that usually cover the peaks that are virtually invisible because of them 24/7, they parted, and she saw, what word shall I use? She saw a golden, gleaming kingdom. And maybe you don't know this yet, but in the moment you see anything, you are invited in the moment of seeing to know something of the nature that you're seeing, because what you see appears in your awareness, and your awareness already contains all of the elements that you're seeing. And no sooner did she see it, the clouds passed. She stayed up there all day, all night, never came back. She goes back home. She can't get into her stuff. I mean, her mind is still filled with the experience of that light from another world. She tries to talk to people about it. Oh, you're crazy. What are you, out of your mind? There's no... Everybody knows, the town elders, they talk about these things, but we know that they're not accessible to mortals, silly person. But it doesn't bring her any peace to hear people talk about how one day she might understand it. Maybe one day, if she's really fortunate, she'll just be brought up in it when she dies. All the things that human beings are told. And basically what they're saying to her is, why can't you just be content like everybody else? Why can't you just be look, you have this, and why can't you just be content? You have more than most people. Because they always start with a plea and then turn into a punishing, don't they? But she couldn't stop climbing. There wasn't a day that went by where, if it was possible, she would make that ascent to see if she could see what she glimpsed. And sometimes she had to do things that weren't part of her normal routine. And don't think that she didn't get hell after her for breaking down what she ordinarily does, because why? They're saying, give it up. And all she could say to them is, I want to know what I saw. I want to know what I experienced. I don't want to know what your book says. I don't want to know about that teaching. I don't want to know anything. I know what I saw, and I want to see it for myself. That's how she answered them. Now, before I get into the special writing, imagine paying someone to climb a mountain for you, take in the view for you, and then come down to where you're having dinner and tell you what they saw. Does that sound rewarding to you? That is exactly what happens. We want thought to ascend. We want to follow it up there to what it says are the heights that it knows nothing about. And then we want to have thought describe to us what thought has imagined, and then experience the imagination inherent in the thinking nature and call that having ascended the mountain. That's ludicrous, isn't it? So what has to happen? Now, I'm going to read for you this special writing. And truth be known, everything that I've discussed with you is born out of what I was given to write here. So I will do the best to explain it, and then with the remaining 5 minutes or so, we'll look at how all of this is understood and actualized. What we are willing to pay, to give up for the sake of being free, all depends on how aware we are of how painful is our sense of captivity, of feeling like a prisoner in a world we cannot see. And more so, what justification can there be for this sense of confinement when by and large most of us have the freedom to live and move about as we will? There is none. Such pain is inexplicable, which makes it all the more confounding. I'm going to read it again. This pain is inexplicable to the mind that analyzes it. And the more it tries to analyze it, the more confounded and confused becomes that mind, believing that its confusion proves that it actually understands, but just can't get to that yet. Second part of this special writing. And so it goes, and has always gone in this strange world. Those who are mostly content with their lot in life are content. They cannot understand those who are not. And those who are not content for reasons they can't understand, can't fathom how others go on day after day, not just oblivious to their captivity, but content to spend the time decorating the walls of the prison in which they live. You will have to one day deal with this in ways I can't describe it. Why in the name of God is he content with his life when I'm not? Why is she happy to do what she's doing when I can see there's no point to it? Why does she do pointless things? All of the ways in which our mind is what? Judge others. And when I'm judging you, what am I interested in? Proving to myself that I'm superior to what I judge. Isn't that what I'm interested in? What if I was interested in understanding the nature of that judge that only knows its position by comparing itself to someone else? Then I would know some of the machinery of this pain that's always looking out and wondering, how can people be content when I'm not? They cannot understand what they are in. And the point for us, I may say I understand the captivity I am in, but I do not. I have 1,000 answers. I can call on the wisdom of ages gone by. I can look to Jesus. I can come home to Buddha. My mind and this world supplies every single answer to a pain that I can't answer. And I am interested in answers because it relieves me of the responsibility of understanding from myself that I have seen the truth of this pain. And the truth of this pain is that I can't answer it. The truth of this confusion is I can't clear it up. I can have temporary solutions. I can have temporary answers, all of which do what? Just get me a little further in this circle that always comes back to the same place where what seems to be a new condition will bring up the same old conflict, and I'll be right there again, interested not in the nature of that conflict and what's creating it, but in what that nature is telling me has produced that pain and what I have to do to escape it. That's what this special writing is about. That young woman in that village could not be content. And nothing that anyone could tell her could bring that contentment. And there was only one way she would ever know contentment. And what was that? Not just to see that gleaming golden kingdom again, but to see it long enough and thoroughly enough to be transported into a living relationship with the light that revealed it to begin with. That's the difficulty of your spiritual life. To whatever extent you have interest in what you do because you have what this work would call a magnetic center. Something in you that is drawn without you knowing why to what it doesn't understand, even why it's drawn to. I'm just drawn to it. Then my mind starts to give me all the rationale. Well, I'm drawn to this because when I get there where I'm drawn to, then I'll be content. Except you can't get to what you are drawn to, because what you are drawn to and what you are is a singularity. That's why only dying to oneself produces the end of all these false interests that we have. Because interest always for us seems to imply there's a distance between myself and what I'm interested in. But you talk to any master of anything at all, and they will tell you they never mastered themselves. Love mastered them by keeping them in proximity to that which they were drawn to sufficiently long enough through the suffering of it so that at last the whole idea of a distinction between myself and what I love disappears. Then you're in the kingdom. And this whole talk is to encourage you. I'll put it together for you. Imagine being interested in the nature of why it feels like you must protect yourself from a fear, instead of being interested in the consequences that fear threatens you with. Isn't that what I'm interested in? I'm interested in dealing with the consequences. And it never occurs to me, I almost said a bad word. Why in the name of God am I dealing with consequences when I know nothing at all about the nature that keeps projecting them and telling me how painful it'll be when I get there? What do you mean when I get there? I'm there now. That's what you don't see. Do you think a moment's coming where you need to be anxious? No, anxiety is creating that moment so it can live through you. And I don't see it. Why? Because I'm not interested in understanding the machinery of that unconscious nature. I'm interested in escaping what it creates. Please? Imagine being interested in the nature of anger. I'm not interested in the nature of anger. I'm interested in how to fix you that caused it. That's what I'm interested in. All the global solutions to this suffering. Ask yourself, there have been global solutions to the suffering on this planet for as many thousands of years as there are billions of people. And there's not one of those solutions has ever brought about the peace. Why? Because we know nothing about what is disturbing the peace. Because that nature always points to something as the source of its pain. And then it's interested in destroying it or rebuilding it or recreating or doing something to it so that I no longer have to suffer the indignant nature, the indignant relationship I have with that condition I don't want. How about this? Boy, I would love... What if I became interested in the nature that's always complaining instead of interested in how to change what it cries about? You have never once in your life, you may say so if you want, otherwise, you've never been interested in the nature of a complaint. You're too busy identifying with it so that it can tell you how to fix and otherwise confirm that that's wrong and you're right. This is another one I like. What about being interested in the nature of regret? I don't have interest in the nature of regret. I'm interested in how to change what I regret. I'm interested in changing what I regret. I'm interested in changing the past. I'm thinking about it all the time. That's what I want. I know nothing about the nature of regret. How about the nature of hating yourself? Do you not from time to time? So, you idiot, do you ever call yourself an idiot? Well, who's calling you an idiot? The me that's superior to the stupid thing I just did. Is there actually a me that's superior to the stupid act I just did? Or is there a nature that divides itself up and says you need to be interested in judging yourself because it'll prove to you that you're not what you judged? I go, okay, that's good because I'm afraid of, listen to this, I'm afraid of being what I see. And I'm trying to get across this point that instead of being afraid of what you're given to see, give yourself to interest in the seer of that moment. Because if I live as I do with the fear of this reaction, the fear of becoming this, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to talk to these people because if I do, it's going to bring this up. And I say I blame it on them. But the truth is I just don't want to experience that. So whether I see it or not, my interest is in avoiding the experience of myself that I blame on conditions. When conditions don't create the experience of myself, they reveal it. And if I can be interested in that, what happens? I'm bringing you in last time. What happens if you go outside and you see something gorgeous? Do you go, oh no? Do you shut down? Does resistance shut you down so that all you see is what you don't like? Well, that does happen, doesn't it? No, when I'm interested in something, I want to breathe it in. When I'm interested in that music, I can't have it go deep enough. It's impossible. I have an epiphany. I'm interested in whatever that light is bringing in terms of the holiness, the fulfillment of it. There's no way that I can't surrender myself completely enough to that. I wish that I could. There's still a barrier, which I will talk about in another talk, why these parameters never merge. No, I'm open to it. You have to be open to what is closing you down. But to be open to what is closing you down, you have to be interested in the nature that you are consensual with, that constantly is shutting things down. Solutions to your suffering are shutting down the possibility of you having a new interest in an old nature that changes intrinsically your relationship to that nature. Then something starts to happen. You all following me? Here's the last point. All of this, what does it come to, in a manner of speaking? There is no death for those, come what may, who are interested in what real life never stops giving, and this realization actualized. The fear of death, you boil it all down, I'm afraid. I'm afraid if I lose this, I'm afraid if this changes, I'm afraid if you don't, I'm afraid if they do. Because whatever it is that doesn't line up with what I expect and feel I'm owed, I see as an existential threat to the identity that is so attached. So that this new interest brings me to an awareness of this attachment and the dependency and the darkness in which all of that goes on uninvestigated. And as I learn to do that, and I'll end with this, I've said this before, when we leave this body, we will leave it, we will die as we lived. And if we live with interest in everything, interest in the pain, imagine being interested enough in your own pain to not fear it, because your interest is revealing to you the different things that you don't know about the nature that resists. Most of our pain is born out of resisting the condition, not the actual condition itself. So that you will die as you lived. And I'm saying now the whole point of this talk is let us live with interest. Let me be interested in this moment I don't want, not in what it points to. Let me be interested in this anger I have towards this person, not why I should have this anger. Let me be interested in my selfishness. Let me be interested in my greed. Let me be interested in my insecurity. Let me be interested in why I'm so dependent on what other people think of me. Let me be interested in these things so that as I grow in this nature that is interest, I'll see I'm drawn to be interested in this because that divine nature is interested in me transcending what interferes between myself and the kingdom of heaven. Let's take a break. We'll come back and have our dialogue.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Now it's time for you guys to be able to dialogue directly with Guy. If you're on GoToWebinar, you can talk with Guy, speak with him by just raising your hand. The little hand icon looks like that. Raise it. We have some people in the queue already. And if you're on YouTube or one of the other platforms, you can write a message in the chat box. So let's go ahead and bring Guy on, and then we'll get started. Guy, we have 4 in the queue here, and I don't have any written ones yet. So let's just start right away with Fiona, who is here first. Fiona?
Thank you, Doug. Hello, Guy.
Fiona, how are you?
Good. I'm so pleased I remembered to tune in an hour earlier because we haven't changed our clocks for another couple of weeks in Scotland.
Scotland. What's on your mind?
You mentioned yesterday the Insight Timer, and also really grateful that I have access through the Guy Finley membership. It's just priceless to be able to get access to the Insight Timer. You said awareness is not divided into what it is aware of and what it knows about it. And
Right.
you had the examples of the mirror, which honestly can't hear enough of because it just paints a bigger picture each time. The mirror, it simply sees what it is. And so when you're talking today, it really marries up with being able to have that awareness to see what is going on. But then I've mentioned before about as soon as you talk to yourself about it, that's just dead. You've wasted that opportunity that you just said. And then it becomes, it's really not something you want to do. It just becomes something that there is simply no other way than to see something, and then as you see something, feel something, then it really becomes merged. It simply is what it is. And
Yeah.
so I'm really working on seeing that and being with that a lot more. And it really is the only way the only possibility for any true growth. It's nothing, and that makes dying to myself not something that I feel, how do I do?
Right.
There is no other way.
That's correct. Yeah, this is all good. And I especially like how you were able to tie yesterday's material into today's. So I would add this one idea to blend the ideas together. So we are created to see what human eyes, as they are, with what they are given to see, cannot behold. For instance, it isn't the human intellect that can behold the idea that there is, at all points and times, prior to the experience of a moment, there is the awareness in which that moment will unfold. So that awareness is like an ocean that holds within it every permeation of whatever may be permitted to arise in it, all creatures, all creations, all relationships. So that the gradual realization, and part of why you're attracted to that idea about awareness that you read from what I said, is because for a moment I glimpse that kingdom. For a moment I see there is a world that isn't divided up into what I see and how I feel about it. There's a world that isn't divided up into how I feel and what I should do about it. But rather in that awareness that precedes the consciousness that is born from it, there is an intelligence, a wisdom, an action. There is something already designated, already a will unfolding in another order of time, that if I am present enough to it, it becomes something that I incorporate, that I am the embodiment of, and I don't need to think anymore about what thought to take for tomorrow. I don't need to figure out what to do with the things that are so difficult in my life, because I recognize clearly, to the extent that I can, that my mind, the way it operates, never stops dividing life into me and it. And when I see that me and it are a creation of an unconscious nature that requires that division, then I want, how do I say, it isn't even that I want to die to it, Fiona, but death becomes the only choice. Isn't it strange? Death of that nature becomes the only choice to escape its death. Then I'm left with something that thought can think about, analyze till the cows come home, but it doesn't change the fact that I can see the truth of it, and I'm going to do the best I can to live from that truth. I hope that helps a little bit, Fiona.
It really does. Thank you so much, much.
You bet.
All right, let's go next to Dwight in the queue.
Can you hear me?
Is that Dwight?
Yes, it is.
Oh, boy.
Happy birthday, or I think your birthday's coming up, isn't it?
Oh, my birthday?
Yeah.
No, my birthday was on the 22nd of February, but it's
Oh.
good enough that you remember, Dwight.
Yeah.
How are you? What's on your mind?
I'm good. Just
Good.
one thing I wanted to say is it's really a great relief when you stop believing in the consequences, the solutions that your nature gives you to a reaction.
Indeed.
You know, when you say, this isn't going anywhere, this isn't good. And that is a real relief. One thing, though, that seems that I need you to help me with is that in the writing it says there's a belief that you're different from what you see. Does that mean you realize that this unconscious nature is part of you that you're dealing with? Is that what that meant? You know, like,
I'm not quite clear of the part you're referring to, but I will say that at a certain point, a person starts to realize that I don't see what is, I see what I believe is there. And that what I believe is there is a part of that nature that requires what it sees in order to sustain its belief. And the whole thing, Dwight, I can summarize at a different level. I actually start to see just what you said. I don't really have to believe in these consequences, not because I don't feel the dragon, not because I don't feel the fear, but because I realize now the fear actually belongs to a part of myself that I'm losing interest in. And then, Dwight, because you've already said it, you know, I like that, I see that. And so what happens? You know, I'd be interested to see where this goes. I don't know where it goes, but I'm interested to see what will happen if I keep following what it is that has brought me to this point. I didn't bring myself to this point. I didn't create the interest in these ideas, but something did. And then you start to get a little bit of an insight into that story about the person who walked on the beach, and for a long time there were two sets of footprints, and then there was only one. That beautiful old metaphor. You start to realize, yeah, that's the truth. I thought I was walking by myself, you know, and that something was walking with me. And now I realize, no, I've always been as one, but not knowing it. And I'm interested in that. That was the story of the girl. That was the story of the special writing. I didn't create this interest. I didn't bring to myself the glimpse of that golden castle, meaning of that impassable peace. But there it was, and I'm interested in that. And when you start to understand that faith is more or less the realization that something was produced in you for you to see, and that you didn't create what you saw, but you can, if you wish, become so interested in it that you close the distance between essentially the illusion that you are apart from the kingdom of heaven. You are not outside of Christ. Christ is not outside of you. The end of that illusion is what all of that leads us to, bit by bit, as the case may be, but definitively.
thank you.
You bet, Dwight. That's why I always say stay the course. Stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. We lose interest in the course when it seems to go in a direction we're not interested in. Instead of wondering, what is this that's looking at this? What does it mean it went in the wrong direction? Can I be interested in whatever it is in me that thinks it knows the direction? Because do I know the direction if I'm in a dark mood? Or does the dark mood prove I don't know the direction, but think I do? I become interested. I can't stress strongly enough that word in your life relative to your states. It'll change everything about it, little by little, and you become more interested in what's produced by living in that light than creating your own so-called light and following it. I'm off.
All right, Guy, let's go next to Susie B.
Susie E.
Susie B.
Whatever. Hi, Susie.
Susie, you need to unmute yourself if you can, and click on that microphone, something that looks like a microphone. I think a question came up. Katie, maybe we'll go on. Let's go to James next.
Hi, Guy.
Hi, James.
I don't know if I can put it in words right, but last week Eric mentioned a quote about human perfection being the need for God. And last time I spoke with you, you talked about desire being dissatisfaction. But is there a place for desire for a higher truth that's basically God intervening? So when I'm fearful and I look in the mirror and I see cruelty and selfishness, negative stuff, is there a point at which God can show me the truth?
How do I answer you, James? There is so much dependent upon an individual, beginning as I outlined in this talk, to see that I was blind. Because if I can actually realize, well, wait a minute, suddenly I'm aware of something that I was never aware of before, but that was there all the time. Where was I? And in that moment, a fundamental shift has taken place. A necessary separation has occurred. The necessary separation is that now I realize that indeed, as Christ said, there are many mansions in my Father's kingdom. Because now I'm standing above where I was below, and always thought I was standing above where I was, but now I see I was below. Now I see I was identified. Now I see I was angry for reasons that I had 1,000 justifications for, all the excuses in the world, but there's no excuses for harming myself. When I'm harming myself, I don't know I'm harming myself, and then one day I see it. I just see it. That proves there are different levels of awareness, different levels of light in that darkness that knows it not, that as that light expands, or actually more accurately, as we enter into its expansiveness, we see beyond the shadow of a doubt. Now, with that in mind, James, at the level that we live now, which is occasionally having a small glimpse of something that shows us we are blind, all desire that we are identified with is a form of self-love, no exception. Whatever we desire because the mind has created an image, the image inseparable from a sense of being incomplete, and so the desire gives us something to identify with that we will get there or become that, and we have a momentary consolation due to the desire that has delivered us into a time to come or a person that we will be when we get past how terrible we are. But if I actually see, James, the fact of myself, there is no desire that I can create or should create to escape it. Because the desire to escape what I see belongs to the nature that desires not to be what has just been revealed. And as I see that, the whole idea of a desire of a time to come when I'll be free, all of that disappears because I am free in the moment I am present to what I am being given to see. And there's no freedom outside of the moment of revelation. Everything else is a pipe dream, James. It's a pipe dream produced by a nature that looks at what is in front of it. It sees its ambition, its selfishness, its greed, its anger. It sees this, and in the moment that it is revealed, it denies it. And it denies it by judging us or by judging what we have to do to escape what it sees. We're not going to escape what we see. We're going to become interested in the experience of it. So there's not a division in that awareness between who I am and what I'm experiencing, between the condition I blame and the conflict for it. None of that. It all disappears, James. Everything is dissolved into the light, including the sense of self that believes it's separate from it. I hope that that was able to shed some light on what you asked.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, Guy, we're going to try Susie again and see if she can get her mic working. All right. Apparently there is a problem. So we will, I tell you what. Oh, there she is. Look at that. Hi, Susie.
Thank you. Not really even a question, Guy. Today, you just set me free. And I just want to thank you. I understand now the die to self. You know, for ever so long, I was in a corner with concrete boots on with what's the point? And
Yes.
and now it's like, well, it's just to be in wonder and awe of life, you know? It's like, I don't know why I'm exactly here, but it's like, you know, even what you said with Fiona and Dwight and stuff, it's like, wow, I just thank you so much for being in our world. That's it.
I'm so glad for you. I don't know exactly why things are the way they are. I would be remiss, I'd lie if I said it. But I do know one thing for sure. We are all, one and all, a creation of the divine. But all creations in the divine are not the same. Just as there's a difference between a rock and a river, between a small plant and the magnificent creature that may graze on it, everything in creation is at the stage of development that it's in, and that creature did not for itself determine that stage, but it does experiences the stage that it's in. We have the unique capacity to realize the stage that we're in and on. No other creature has that. And it is in being, if you will, open, welcoming, because it's a far stretch, isn't it? Because I used to talk, you know, wow, I'm going to be in awe. I'm really in wonder about this hate that I feel for this person. That doesn't come up naturally, does it? And yet, I can see the wisdom in it. So hatred's blind, wisdom sees. And according to what I see and feel, according to the vision that I have a glimpse of that castle. I have a glimpse of something on a mountain above myself that I didn't know was there, and now it is. And here's the real point behind what I'm saying. Do you know what a real spiritual teacher is in this world? Do you want to know what a real spiritual teacher is? It's just someone who got tired of the pain a little before you did. Whenever that happened, however it happened, that's all it is. You will never know anything, or I'll say it otherwise, anything an awakened man or woman knows is already in you. Anything an awakened man or woman will ever know is already a part of you. You just have to part ways with what's keeping you from that revelation. And being closed off to moments, resisting, resenting, or hating whatever it may be that doesn't line up with how I'm supposed to feel. Isn't that the basic the line in the sand, how I'm supposed to feel, how I feel. One day you'll be so bored with how you feel about moments that you will lose interest in yourself. And this extraordinary thing, because I'm describing something that actually happens, I've lost interest in being angry. Now, I may still feel the anger. I may be caught up in this regret, this anger. I may still feel it, but now I understand, because I'm no longer interested in it, that I can have an interest in following what is showing me the limitation, the suffering inherent in such things. Then you're on a, then 2 feet or 2 sets of prints are slowly becoming one, and you'll see that happen. I'm off.
Thank you.
That's another great sweatshirt guy, might be, I am no longer interested. And then
Yeah.
that went before Doug. That
Yeah.
would be a great thing.
Let's make it so, Douglas.
I'm gonna print him out this week. You'll get one.
Yeah. I mean, like, how about, I make a bad golf shot. What am
Yeah.
I immediately interested in? How much I hate golf, how much I wish I was a better player. Why did they put that lake there where they knew my ball was going before I struck it? All of those things. I can be interested in the nature, not just of the one who's swinging, but the whole relationship to it. Then I learn something that changes how I swing, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Here's a question, guy, from a YouTube viewer, Ashton, and he says, your talks, he or she, I'm not sure. Your talks help me remember and find motivation to be awake to myself and do the work you speak about. But it concerns me sometimes because I know I can only make this journey alone and don't want to be dependent to find that motivation and clarity. I sometimes find I've lost motivation or forgotten until one of your talks reminds me that this is what I genuinely want. Can you speak to the balance between drawing strength from a higher perspective, in other words, your perspective, Guy Finley, and finding that strength within myself?
Yeah, I'll be happy to help there. Because what you're saying, I've heard in many ways over these many years. This mind can't wait to set itself apart from whatever it is, high or low, good or bad. How about this, Ashton, for as simple as it can be? I thirst. Can I be too dependent on the water? And if I thirst and I want to drink as often as I can from the well, who is to judge me for my thirst? Other than something in me that says you shouldn't be dependent on those waters. And then if I thirst and I drink freely from the well, Ashton, and you'll have to see this for yourself, you'll be nourished enough, you'll have enough inside of you that you'll discover the well that you were drinking from was never outside of you. And that the well opens within you. The waters of life are literally start flowing within you, not because you deserve them, not because you've created that well, but because you drank freely enough to set all of that in motion within yourself and to bring yourself in relationship with those waters. I can't tell you how many men and women have fallen off the path because something in them tells them, you know what, you're becoming dependent. And then on the other side of it, Ashton, to see if I can't live without a fix, there's a problem. There's a difference between the nourishing waters and the difference between drinking from them until I'm so satiated I don't want anything more to do with them. And then it still achieves the same purpose, which is to separate me from my thirst. Isn't that what drove the young woman in our story? Didn't her thirst bother everybody? And do you think that her thirst didn't bother her? Because how it's going to be quenched when after I had a drink, it's taken me a year to see the thing again if I saw it? How can I shake this off? I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to feel like I'm missing the divine. And all that nonsense that goes on in our psychologically broken system as it does. Be satisfied. Be grateful that you have that thirst, Ashton. Be grateful, as I am, honestly, to find when I can, however it comes to me, usually from above, that which answers that thirst and proves to me there's a well. I'm off.
All right, let's go to Irene, then Isabella, and I think we can end with a written question from Rebecca. So Irene, you can unmute yourself. She went away. Maybe she
The
clicked
rumor
the
is
wrong.
the rumor is
Hi, Guy.
There she is.
she's back.
Hello. How are you? Sorry. I just wanted to thank you. You said a while ago that the peace is to let go and everything is unfinished business with the divine. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt inner peace today. And that's all. I just wanted to really thank you.
I'm glad for that. And your thought stimulates something, as it will, that I will speak. You can't lose your pain as long as you have interest in it. And we don't believe that we have interest in keeping the pain in place. I just don't believe that's true. I don't believe I'm interested in suffering. I'm interested in escaping it. But you can't be interested in escaping your pain by whatever means unless you're interested in what that pain is telling you you need to do. We can't see these opposites. Interest, as I'm describing, brings the opposites together. Then, key, I begin to lose interest in my pain. It was the fulcrum of my life. Everything I thought, every future, every past, every little nugget of whatever it was that was bring up the thing, that's where I was. That's what I think about. It's what I do. It's what I hope for. And then, oh my God, and you will go through this. I'm losing interest in suffering. Listen to this, what's going to happen to me? Because I won't know what to do with my life. And you know why you don't need to worry about that? Because God knows exactly what you need to do with your life and will show you if you lose interest in this self-centered love. I'm off.
Great, thanks. There, Isabella, next.
Okay, there's the green. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good morning, good afternoon. Good to see you. I just did want to come on and just, as others have said, just thank you, because even though there's knowledge that all of this is available and within me, it's still, you articulate it so well. And it just, so I do want to thank you for that, because every time I think, oh, I got it, and then I'm like, I don't got it.
Yeah.
So it just really helps to hear you, and my question probably is another reiteration of everything you've said today, but it just brings up in me, maybe I just need more confirmation. My situation has to do with getting older and with working, not working. I look forward to the weekends, but then I have so much pain. Like you were just saying, it's like, how do I not focus on the pain when it's right in my face? And then there's this conflict between faith and reality. So my question is, how do I keep holding up that mirror for, I don't want to call it faith healing. It's just, it's within me already, but how do I keep holding up that mirror with everything saying, no, look over here. Oh no, it's not that, look over here.
Yeah. I have an old saying, and it's not sarcastic. Please don't take it that way. Isabella, you have to move and leave no forwarding address for yourself.
Oh, I like that.
Look, and by some miracle that God has arranged that I could never explain to you, if it weren't for the interest that has been given to me to explore and understand the endless pain of my physical and psychological life, there would be no way that I would be able to elucidate it and help clarify for those of you who are in that same nature and experiencing it, the fact that you can be so interested in understanding your pain that you stop listening to pain tell you what you need to understand. And then there's a silent conversation between what has brought you into the awareness of that condition and the consciousness that now you are aware of. That conversation ultimately is silent. Ultimately, everything draws quiet because the action to take about your pain has nothing to do with anything your pain tells you to do. Rather, you understand without judging yourself, and I know that's the key. God, why am I limping? Why am I assuming this posture? What is this endless, strange situation that has no bright ending to it? It's all downhill. I mean, you can outline this, and every person who grows old can.
Yeah.
But then you realize, you know what? I'm just not going to talk to myself about it because whoever's talking knows nothing about it, and I'm more interested in why something wants to keep talking to me than I am in what it's talking about, because talking doesn't do anything. Let me be interested in my life as it is. Listen to me. Interested in my life, the whole of it as it is, not interested in living the comparison of why I shouldn't be in pain, why it shouldn't be this way, why do I have to die, why do I have to do these things, why can't I do these things? And you start to lose interest in that legion of questions that belongs to a legion of eyes waiting for a circumstance to elicit so that you can be drawn back into that world again.
Yeah, it keeps me on the
that should
hamster wheel
help.
for sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Guy. Blessings to you.
And to
Good
you.
see you.
And to you.
Thanks.
She says, awesome.
She said thanks.
Oh, awesome.
All right, let's end today with Rebecca. Her question is, would appreciate Guy's input on the following. I see many questions bubbling up from this phenomenal talk, and I see those questions as this conscious wanting to continue to find hiding places.
If you thirst. God, where did it come to us to believe that somehow or other we're the superior editor of life? Because that's what you're always doing, is editing. Well, I shouldn't be like this. What does that mean? Find out what it means. Find out. I can tell you that when you come to the end of something, it won't be because you've decided this is the end. It'll be because you see there's no further to go with this, and then you will gradually die to the interest that your own mind had in answering the questions it poses. Everything lives and dies naturally. You must learn to be a human being who lives and dies moment to moment naturally. And it's never thinking about your life. I know it seems like it's the most natural thing in the world, doesn't it? What could be more natural than being tormented by my thoughts? And then you realize, sweet God, this isn't natural. How do I know it's not natural? Because something is showing me it's not. I thought it was natural. It was definitively necessary. And if the consequences weren't played out, they'll come to me if I don't get through this by thinking about it. And then one day you see, you know what, I'm done with that ride. And the minute you're done with that ride, you'll be interested in another ride. That's the nature of it. But if you go into that interest fully, you will pass through that ride more quickly. And that's all, folks.
You can just go ahead and say goodnight.
Okay. Katie's telling me she's got a string on my hand. Bye-bye.